Creative slumps are unfortunately an inevitable part of the writing process, even for the most seasoned of writers. I won't pretend to be an expert, having just gotten back into writing 2 years ago, but since I've been back in this consistent habit, I've experienced many days where I felt like my creative spark is just non-existent. The good news is that every time I've experienced this, it's been temporary. But it definitely doesn't feel that way in the moment. Today, I wanted to share some practical tips about how to approach this part of the creative cycle. And yes, for many of us, it is a natural part of the process, with acceptance and compassion. But before we dive in, I wanted to take a moment to talk about Linjer, who are kindly partnering with me in today's video. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Emily. If you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back and welcome to another video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about my 5 strategies for overcoming the most unfortunate part, in my opinion, of the creative cycle, and that is the creative slump, a writing slump, creative burnout, or the stage after crashing out. So I thought I would share with you a couple strategies that have really helped me in getting out of this period without completely abandoning my projects and my dreams. Because sometimes when you're in the middle of a slump, it really does feel like you're never going to get out of it. Before I get into the strategies, I wanted to actually take a minute to talk about the partner of today's video, and that is Linjer. Linjer is a brand that I've worked with before. They are a female-founded jewelry company, and I love that they create high-quality pieces without the luxury markup. They sent over a couple products for me to try out, and I've been wearing them over the last couple of weeks, and I can honestly say they are fantastic. This is actually my second time working with Linjer, so really excited to collaborate with them again. All of the products that I got from them last time are in my heavy rotation. I wear them almost every single day. And so I knew when I was picking out new pieces, I wanted them to kind of fill a gap in my jewelry wardrobe, let's say, by bringing in a little bit of color. This is the Helene ring. It is gold vermeil with a variety of colorful stones. And what I really like about their gold vermeil is that it is actually 2.5 to 3 microns thick, which is 5 times thicker than standard gold-plated jewelry. So the durability factor is there without compromising on the really delicate, minimal designs that I tend to gravitate towards. Their gold vermeil options are also their most affordable, but they do also have solid gold pieces as well, if that's more your speed. I also got 2 pairs of earrings from them. I got one that's more like event ready and the other that is more of an everyday style, but they're both Huggies. These earrings that I'm wearing right now are the Kasha Huggies. These are also gold vermeil and they are a beautiful little Huggie. These are the everyday ones that I picked out and they're really pretty, almost like teardrop shaped hoop. And I really like the Huggies because I'm not as worried that things are going to get caught on them. And they're also comfortable enough that you can sleep in them, which I know you're not supposed to do, but let's face it, it does happen sometimes. And then the last set that I got are these beautiful Birthstone Eternity Huggies. These are like a half pave, I believe, and they are garnet and they're also gold vermeil. Again, I really like a Huggie because I'm not worried things are gonna get caught. I'm a little clumsy and that is definitely not something that I wanna worry about. Both earrings also have a clasp that's really easy to open and close. And this isn't really one of my tips for getting out of a creative slump, but I do find sometimes that when I'm feeling really blah about my writing, about my project, I don't want to say get dressed up to write, but in university, I subscribed to the philosophy of dress well, test well, in the hopes that feeling put together and feeling like I had my ish together would actually help me perform better on the tests. And I did perform well on the tests. I'm not sure if the outfits had anything to do with it, but I'm sure it didn't hurt. So sometimes when I'm in a bit of a creative rut, I will try to put on some pieces that I love that make me feel more like myself, more elevated. And the Linjer pieces that I have, both from my previous collaboration and from this current collaboration, have been staples. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to check out Linjer and shop their pieces. Maybe a great gift ahead of the holiday season or something special for yourself. It's been a long year and honestly, we've earned a little treat for ourselves, I think, in making it this far. You can also use my code Emily Thompson, which I'll put on screen and in the description as well, for a special offer at checkout. But I just wanted to say thank you to Linjer for sponsoring this part of the video. Let's go to the office and chat a little bit about getting out of a creative slump. All right, we are back in the office. Apologies if there's a little bit of an echo, I'm still furnishing it. Creative slumps are an inevitable part of the writing process, even for the most seasoned of writers. And I really wouldn't consider myself a seasoned writer at this point. I've been back into a semi-regular writing practice for about 2 years, but I've definitely encountered my fair share of road bumps, writing slumps, true writer's block, you name it. I have probably gone through it when it comes to the first drafting stage, at least. If you've been following along with my channel, you would know that I am currently on the first draft of a project And I am just really hoping in 2026 that I can make it to the second draft of something, because I have 2 projects on the go. One of them that I've shelved temporarily at about 70,000 words in the first draft, and the project that I'm working on now, which at the time of filming this, I think I'm sitting at like 38,000 words, which is really good considering I really just started it in September. It's not always been easy, and I've definitely gone through my fair share of creative slumps. So I wanted to talk about some of the strategies that I've developed over the last 2 years that I feel like have really helped make a difference in my creative practice and allowed me to meet it with more compassion and acceptance than I did 2 years ago. So without further ado, here are the 5 strategies that have helped me get back in the saddle when it feels like all hope is lost and I'm never going to write a coherent sentence ever again. Now, just as a quick disclaimer, these are just the things that have worked for me. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I am somebody who is deep in the trenches of drafting. So this is just what I found helpful. So if any of these tips don't resonate for you, and that is totally okay. No advice is ever one size fits all. You know your creative needs best. So when in doubt, go with what feels right to you. That said, if you have any ideas or any tips of your own that you'd like to share, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below to share with anybody else who might have clicked on this video for a similar reason. Okay, let's get into it. Strategy number 1 is to put some distance between yourself and your project. You can decide how long this is. For me, I usually like 2 to 3 weeks, especially if I feel like I'm really in a rough way with my project, and just kind of take the pressure off. Even though getting through a writing slump by intentionally not writing sounds counterintuitive, I've actually found that I've had the most success when I've let my ideas just kind of marinate in my brain and not put any sort of pressure on myself to be creating. So I think for me, a lot of my writing slumps come from not being able to do what I actually want to with my project, whether it's a gap in my skill set or I'm just not in a space mentally where I can be as creative as I'd like. I will usually put my project away for a little bit around Act 2, Part 2, because I struggle so much to navigate the fun and games. It is not fun and it doesn't feel like a game. So sometimes taking a little bit of time away can be just the thing that you need to wipe the slate clean and start fresh. My next strategy is to reframe my definition of progress and success when it comes to my writing practice. Sometimes opening up the draft and scrolling through it and seeing all of the work that I still have to do can have the opposite effect that you want, and it makes things feel so overwhelming. It feels too big, too messy to even know where to begin. Whenever this happens, what I usually do first is close out whatever my working draft file is, whether it's on Scrivener or Google Docs. I will open up a blank page, either in a notebook or in my word processor of choice, and I will just brain dump a bunch of ideas, stream of consciousness style, that relate to my story. They could be scenes I already know, they could be scenes I've already written. I just dump out whatever thoughts I have. Sometimes I'll also set a timer for this. Usually 10 minutes is what I'll give myself, because I feel like it's not that long. Like, it's just 10 minutes. I could be scrolling for 10 minutes and not even notice. So I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, dump everything that I can out of my brain and onto paper. And oftentimes that's enough for me to realize, oh, actually, I can make connections between these things. And it gives me a point of entry back into my story. And in my experience, this has had 2 smaller benefits. First, it has me re-engage with the story in a pressure-free environment. If I hate what I write, I can scrap it and it doesn't matter. I can tear the page out of the notebook. I can delete this new random Word document that I've made, and it doesn't matter. The second benefit is that it gets the wheels turning creatively. Maybe when I'm dumping all of my thoughts onto this page, I had a realization about a character arc, or I figured out something that's not working, and even though I don't know how to solve it right then, I can flag it and pinpoint it for future sessions. Sometimes the ideas that I will have are just ideas in that first session, and I'm actually not ready to do anything with them for many, many, many weeks. I have a line of dialogue that I wrote in April of 2025 that I have still not found a place for in my current draft, and it is November. So these things take a really, really long time. It is very much a long game, and this is one of the ways that I have found to encourage myself to keep going when I want to stop. I can go as slow as I want and still be making progress, and I've just kind of reframed what progress, momentum, success, etc. look like in my story. Writing isn't always typing. Sometimes it is staring at the wall. Sometimes it is scribbling thoughts out on a whiteboard. I love that method personally. Sometimes it is talking through plot holes with your friends. it can take so many different forms. So if you are in a little bit of a slump, finding other ways to be working on your project without the pressure of staring down your rough draft can really make a difference. Okay, strategy number 3. Now this one is maybe a little bit silly, but bear with me. One of the things that I tend to do, I find that I get fatigue from using the same process, word processor, etc. all the time. I got to a point with Project Stargazer where I couldn't even look at the Scrivener logo because I just got flashbacks to parts in my story that I just did not want to deal with, plot holes, mess that I had created for myself. I also probably have the world's most chaotic Scrivener document, which all my friends can vouch for. It is a nightmare in there. No wonder it was scary. What I actually found was useful when I started working on Project Spellbound, I originally started it in Scrivener. When I reached kind of a weird point with it, when I was like, I just feel like it's not, I can't see it as like a whole thing. I decided, okay, well, I'm going to take all these little documents that I've written up in Scrivener and I'm going to just dump them into a new platform. Around the same time, I was also going to be back in the office 4 days a week, and I had just started doing what I called subway sprints. So on my commute in the mornings downtown, I would open up my notes app on my phone at the beginning and just dump stuff in. But then I found I'd have to move it over to Scrivener and it just was kind of a hassle. So I ended up opting for Google Docs. So if I'm on the subway going somewhere and I have like 20 minutes, sometimes I'll just open up my doc and I'll just, scroll through, read my scenes, get back into the world. And it makes it so much easier to never fully feel like I'm leaving the story for, a significant period of time. And that is huge. Okay, our penultimate strategy number 4, is to remind myself that inspiration is everywhere. For me, slumps or even full-blown bouts of writer's block happen most often when I've spent too much time writing and not enough time appreciating and observing the art of others. Whether this is TV, movies, live theater, which I love. I love theater and musicals. Listening to music, reading other people's books, and just being around art helps to fill my cup creatively. So for this one, I'm going to kind of throw it back to my undergrad and grad school days. So Roland Barthes has this theory called the death of the author, which is basically that as soon as you create a piece, it is no longer yours because every single person that reads it is going to ascribe different meaning to the story that you built based on their own lived experiences. And I think that this is really important to remember when we're reading and get inspired. I can't tell you how many times I have finished books that have rewired my brain chemistry or left a movie theater convinced that I've been living my life all wrong and I need to reevaluate a couple of things. Art has such transformative power. And I think in order for us to be able to create this kind of art, we also need to be a patron of it. So making sure that you are not just writing in a vacuum, writing in isolation. Find out what you like about other people's work. Find out what things you hate that you feel passionately about, whether it's positive or negative. Some of my best prose has come on the heels of finishing a book that has changed my life. So if you feel like in the midst of a creative slump or a writing slump that you don't have it in you to be an author, be a reader, be a patron. Witnessing great art makes me want to create great art. So let yourself be inspired and follow that spark as far as it'll take you. And last, but certainly not least, is strategy number 5, lean on your community. So if you are a writer currently without a writing community, AuthorTube is a great place. There's also Writergram and many opportunities, I'm sure, in our local communities as well to get involved with existing writing communities or even building one of your own. Brielle actually has a great video on building a writing community after she moved, and she shares some really great tips and insights into how she made that happen. So I'll link that video in the description down below if you don't have a writing community. But also check out local libraries, local coffee shops for open mic nights or writing groups or opportunities to share. If it's available to you, you could always take a writing course. A lot of creative writing courses will require you to kind of form writing groups for the purposes of the course. And you might really click with people and that becomes your writing community forever. So when I got back into writing about 6 months in, when I knew I was actually going to take it seriously, I put a call out on my Instagram to see if anybody else was interested in starting like a little writing accountability group. We would meet on Zoom or Discord or what have you, and we would be able to chat about our projects and kind of commiserate and share wins and that kind of thing. And I actually got a pretty good response. So I think we had like 8 or 9 people in the early iterations of that writing group. And though that version is not as active anymore, A lot of people from that group are still people that I'm obviously in regular contact with and are making great strides on their projects, which is really, really cool. I have been so fortunate to be part of this incredible community here on AuthorTube. I think we're up to like 1,700 subscribers to the channel, which is so wild, but I'm so proud and grateful for the community that we've built over here. There is something so incredibly wonderful about being friends with other writers and creatives, and I'm so grateful for all of the people that this community has brought into my life. I've made some really incredible friendships, and I can't express the depth of my gratitude enough, which sounds so cheesy, but it is genuinely so true. Writing is such a solitary activity, and I think for that reason, it can feel really isolating, and it feels like anytime that you hit a snag, that it's a moral failure, like a personal moral failure, when really writing is just hard. And I think talking to other people who understand that and can kind of help you navigate those messier bits, there's this really beautiful kind of exchange, I think, that happens in creative circles where sometimes you'll have a surplus of creative energy and sometimes you'll have a deficit. And I think being surrounded by such a wonderful group of people means that you can kind of spread the love around so nobody is ever truly running on empty, which I think is a beautiful thing. All right, so those are the 5 strategies that I have leaned on in the past to help get me through creative slumps. And I just wanted to say that being creative is one of the most rewarding things on the planet. Even on the hardest days when the words are not flowing and everything that I'm putting down on paper feels like hot garbage, I'm so grateful to myself for not giving up and for continuing to show up for myself in service of this childhood and now adulthood dream of being published. If you're watching this video because you're currently in a bit of a writing slump, have no fear. Writing, like many things, consists of peaks and valleys, highs and lows. And if you are currently in a valley, just know that the valley is not forever. Eventually, there will be a peak and you will find your way. Been there, I see you. It is hard and I'm here to validate that, but also it is a temporary state. You will get past it. All right, for now, that is all she wrote. I hope you enjoyed today's video and try out some of these strategies for yourself if you are currently in a bit of a writing slump. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm sending all the good vibes as we finish out this year. And I also wanted to thank Linjer again for partnering with me in today's video. As a reminder, if you would like to check them out, I will leave the link in my description and you can use my code Emily Thompson for a special offer at checkout. Until next time, that's all she wrote, but I will see you guys so soon. Bye.